Come on, Teams. There we go. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome along to Data Platform Downunder for the month of July. Joining Martin and I today, we've got Chris Wagner, who's going to take us through Fabric SQL Fast Path to modern scalable analytics. Now, this session is being recorded and will be placed up on the Data Platform Downunder YouTube channel. We will place the link to that in the chat where you can subscribe if you aren't already a member. Before we hand over to Chris, just want one announcement to make. And why is my slide deck not moving?
Use the force, Luke.
Yes, it's not going to do it, so we'll just do it the old-fashioned way. So what I was wanting to show you and call out, for those of you who are in Brisbane, if you don't already know about it, on August 4, so in a little over 3 weeks' time, we've got the Data Analytics and AI Bootcamp here in Brisbane at the Precinct. The link for that is on screen. Feel free to register for this event to come along where you can learn all sorts of things about data analytics and AI in the Microsoft platform. So with that, we'll hand over to Chris and get today's session running.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Warwick. It's great to be presenting and sharing with you guys. So I'm super excited to be here. This is a topic I am incredibly passionate about. When they first brought this to us and said, hey, we're thinking about bringing SQL Server into Fabric. And I said, what are you waiting for? Let's get this going. Do it right now, okay? And once they did, I had this revelation. I realized I've been building all of my applications in what seemed like the right way, the right path, but it was this old methodology for building out my applications and my analytics, right? So the challenge was we would have applications would need to store the data someplace. They would need a transactional processing system for the data to be loaded somewhere. That's great, but then my data warehouse team would need to extract that information out and bring that and put that in a presentable format for people to consume and do things with. And then on top of that, we'd have our reporting team who'd build reports off of this. This has been the way. This has been the path, right? The big problem here is there are huge walls that separate these people. And the app people sit on one side and they have disdain for the DW people. And the DW people sit on one side of the wall and they have disdain for the BI people. But the reason they have this is they have no interaction points. They have no touch points. So it's really hard for them to have that empathy and that connection with these people because these walls existed that prevented really people from understanding the different worlds that were out there. I think this is fundamentally wrong. This is not how data is supposed to exist inside of our ecosystems, especially when we think about ongoing and operational analytics. I believe that we need to have a unified architecture, and that's where Fabric SQL comes into place. Fabric SQL is the first truly unified architecture that allows for both transactional processing, online, active, live, on a platform that users have known and loved for 20 to 30 years, combined with an analytics platform that people are able to build out reports on without having to worry about creating problems for us, right? We could skip that one. But wait, it's not 8 a.m. on the third day of FabCon. It's 9 p.m. on what day is it? What time is it for you? Stepping on my punchline here.
So for us in Brisbane, it's 12:35 p.m. on Tuesday, the 14th.
Okay. Well, that means it's the best day ever, right? So I want, when this slide comes up, I want everybody to come up to you, and I want to hear everybody say best day ever, Okay, so we're going to try it with me now. Okay, best day ever. Again, come on, let's get people off mute. Best day ever. Anyone? No, we're not doing that. Oh, I never knew you people down in Australia were not as exciting as I thought you'd be. So that's okay. All right. Let's talk about where does the SQL database fit in Fabric, okay? SQL database allows us to create operational relational workloads, i.e. anything that you're building an application to support and do, you can use a Fabric SQL database for. The great part about this is it's as easy as like doing anything in Fabric is you are a few clicks away from having that SQL database up, running, and available for you to build out an application on. It allows for you to have that relational engine integrated directly into Fabric, integrated with all your governance and scalability. So there's no additional expenses, right? So as long as you're not like blowing out your CUs, this is not going to cost you more than what you're currently spending, right? On, especially if you have like a large F64 or 128 or 256, it's just going to be another object out there. So there's no additional cost that goes along with this, right? Now, granted, if you hammer on this and blow out CUs, you'll hammer, right? But you can run small databases with no cost, so it's super great. The other big factor is this is now directly integrated with your with all reporting aspects as well as your AI, and it does it in a fashion that makes it truly scalable and ready for your analytics and your enterprise to just run on top of it. Okay, now here are the 3 times you should be looking at using SQL databases in Fabric. Okay, number 1, if you're looking to modernize your existing SQL workloads, i.e., if you're running SQL Server out there and you're looking for like a path to like lift and shift or to like get off of on-prem, get off of that box that's behind your desk or wherever it is, and you want to move it into the cloud, Fabric SQL is an excellent place for that. Okay, there's minimal rewriting. I mean, because this is all it's basically think Azure SQL except inside of Fabric. Okay, now it's not as many of the bells and whistles that Azure SQL has, but that's because you're moving into a PaaS platform, right? So the platform that does a lot of the management, so you just don't have to. Okay, now the other big reason is if you're looking for that tight integration into Fabric, i.e., you're building out an application, you need that application to directly integrate with your reporting and your analytics or your AI, right? Like Fabric SQL gives you that opportunity for that. And then number 3, you want to have your relational data as well as analytics isolated in one platform to avoid sprawl, to reduce integration overhead, and to keep your data as close as possible to your consumption layer, so you're not having to write a whole bunch of pipelines and ETL and all that stuff. Okay. Now, here are the 3 reasons why you don't need it, okay? So if you have true, like massive scale, like compute needs for your SQL databases, Fabric SQL probably isn't the right thing for you. You probably want to do Azure SQL, and heck, there's a use case for even doing an on-prem SQL box. So like that's not out of the line either. So if you're truly like a heavy workload where you're looking to optimize as many processors and as you possibly can fit in the box, Fabric SQL is not the right database for you. And so there's a handful of you out there who know about that. So don't do that, right? Additionally, if you have really large scale data needs, and I'm talking like multiple terabytes of data or petabytes of data, Fabric SQL is not a great place for you. So just set this to the side for now. Maybe one day it will be, but for now you can set this aside. Or number 3, if you have truly like mission critical situations where like having any downtime whatsoever is not an option because you have a factory and it runs You're producing a few $100,000 worth of product every minute, and every minute is measured at, $400,000 of uptime. You'll probably want something a little more robust than Fabric SQL. But what I'm talking about here, between 1, 2, and 3, this is easily less than 3% of all databases that are in existence, and the debate could be had that it's truly less than 1% of databases that are in existence, right? Don't fit in this category. So, like, the vast majority of solutions that are out there, Fabric SQL is an awesome, awesome place for you to build and work and do stuff with. Okay. Hang on one second here. Oh, well, we kind of forgot something here. Before we go too much deeper into this, my name is Chris Wagner. I'm excited to be here. I'm a director of data and AI at Baker Tilly. I'm going to be explaining to you more about how and why Fabric SQL is the fastest way to a scalable data enterprise. I'm also the founder of Kratos BI. Check me out on YouTube. I do live streams for me, it's Friday. For you, it's Saturday. We call it Fabric Fridays. We're on 132. There's a whole bunch of them out there. So please come and check that out. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about the analytics evolution, right? Let's talk about an example of where we are at in the life cycle of this product. Okay. So does anyone here remember SSAS, SQL and Server Analysis Services, running on workstations in your company? Anyone raise your hand? Raise your hand. Maybe not. Okay. There's one. Great. Warwick, thank you for participation. One point for you. So good job. SQL Server Analysis Services eventually got lifted out off of SQL Server and moved into Azure Analysis Services. And that eventually worked its way into a semantic model inside of Power BI. Same engine, just different way of delivering it. We went from infrastructure as a service to software as a service to a platform as a service, right? So that was the journey of analysis services. And frankly, this makes our lives so much easier because we know we can rely upon it, we can trust it, we can know that this is a solid platform to build our analytics on. I mean, there's 20 plus years of experience out there in building these platforms. It's a great resource. It's a great platform to build your semantic models on. Well, we are witnessing the evolution of the SQL Server engine from SQL Server to Azure SQL and now into Fabric databases. Okay, now these are the same engines. These are the same back ends. All that we're really doing is we're saying to the DBAs of the world out there, hey, DBAs, you know what? For the vast majority of the activities that you used to spend time doing, the platform can manage and automate a large chunk of that. And that's really true because all databases need to perform and work in certain ways, and we need them to always be up and responsive and blah, 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 blah. Right? Like, we've been through this. DBAs have been around for 40 years now at this point in time. We know those practices. It's been, not easy, but Microsoft has gathered 20 years of knowledge and experience in managing databases, and they've built that into Fabric database so that you don't have to do that boring stuff anymore. Okay. Now, I want to get into when we're talking about a new program like this. I want to first call out some common objections that you're going to have. Now, I'm going to use 3 different personas that you're going to encounter that may or may not have objections with this. First off, that's the CFO, the BI director, and the DBA. Both of these people who, when confronted with hey, I should start using Fabric SQL instead of Azure SQL or an on-prem SQL, they're going to have their own kind of challenges and problems with the solution. And you're going to see them pop up and crop up through this, okay? So the CFO is going to be really focused in on, is this solution reducing cost, right? How is this helping me in my cost reduction of my platform? And the reality is, Fabric SQL, the great part of this is it's directly and deeply integrated into Microsoft Fabric. I mentioned it earlier. There's, as long as you're not using, CUs beyond what you have capacity for, there's no additional cost for this. It becomes very easy for you to just simply have additional Fabric SQL databases out there using things. It helps you get away from having to manage, sprawled expenses. I mean, I don't know if anyone here has audited a large organization, but I'm always surprised when I find companies that have like 10,000 SQL databases that are running in their organization. They've got 10,000 licenses of it out there. They're paying massive, massive amounts of money every single year just for these licenses and capabilities. By going with Fabric SQL, you are, number one, you're eliminating that licensing cost. You're consolidating all in one platform, and that's going to, across a variety of different spectrums, that's going to give you a massive return on investment. In fact, Forrester pegs the ROI of Microsoft Fabric of 379%. Now, this isn't just Fabric SQL, but this is all of Fabric. But this stat really plays into that calculation because there's just a ton of cost savings as you move off of individually provisioned sources or resources to centralized, managed, and governed resources. I think one of the biggest numbers that I really was impressed by is Microsoft did a deep dive study into large scale companies that are running on both Azure, AWS, and GCP, Google Cloud, to see what type of utilization they're getting out of their data services out inside their ecosystems, right? So, how much time are they paying for things to be up versus how much time are people actually using them? And broadly across all three platforms, across all other technologies, they were seeing around a 6% utilization of cloud-based resources. So that means 94% of the time, resources are up and available in the cloud and not being utilized and only 6% of the time they are. In Fabric and with Fabric SQL, that number starts to go closer to 24% of the time they're being utilized for one workload or another. That is a massive, massive uptick. You say, Chris, 6 to 24, that's only 18. What's the big deal? That's like a 400% increase in your utilization of your cloud resources. So this could be a huge money saver. So when your CFO is challenged by like, hey, I don't know if we want to do that stuff, or someone's challenging on the money front, bring these pieces up to them. It is a huge, huge like cost saver. Okay. Now, next, the BI manager saying, okay, so I just got done building out this medallion architecture, building out all my Power BI reports. Am I going to be moving all of my reporting here? And to that, I'm going to say, yes, you're going to move your operational reports into the Fabric SQL ecosystem, because what this is going to do is it's going to give you near real-time data feeding into your operational reports from any applications that you come in, because you could simply hook up any application out there. Now I'm using a Power App here, but you could use a Node.js, or so you could vibe code your way into creating an application. You could store the data inside of you can use Fabric SQL for where you store your data, you process it, all of that stuff. All of that data is automatically and directly mirrored down into one lake, so it's broadly available at scale for people to like integrate that into your enterprise warehouse, integrate that into your raw layers. It's directly available immediately there. but it's also, you could stick your Power BI reports right on top of that SQL endpoint, so that you could start to take advantage of these analytics that are just being updated in a near real-time basis. So if you need to do operational reports, so that you could see that, yes, a transaction just occurred, and yes, that is now available inside my reports. That's an amazing use case for Fabric SQL. Okay. And then we're all being asked, we're all being challenged to create ecosystems that are AI friendly, easy for AI to integrate with and provide answers from. And Fabric SQL, like everything inside of Fabric, is directly integrated with Copilot, directly integrates with the data agents, directly integrates with anything with an ODBC connection. So you've got tons of options there when it comes to that. Okay. Now, the question that people are going to ask, especially the BI manager, is like, okay, if I put my Power BI on top of my database, I've done that in the past. It slows down my database. So if my database hits load, I've got a problem. I've got a problem with my applications. Well, don't you worry about that. That's one of the great things that Fabric SQL brings, is it brings the true unification of OLTP, online transactional processing, and OLAP, online analytical processing, with a logical separation between the two, so that your compute and your processing inside of your applications can work and operate just fine, and your reports can run on separated compute. It's a fantastic, great solution to help sort that out. Yeah, that's exactly what he's looking for. How awesome. All right. Now, here's where the DBA will like come in and clear house, right? He's going to say, "Yeah, but who owns security? It's an integrate with security. How do we manage and govern security in this framework?" That's a fantastic question. Great question, DBA. I'm glad you asked. Um, you don't have to do anything, and Fabric SQL is already directly integrated with Entra ID. So that means you can do role-based access controls. All of that is built in. All of that functional level, like security that you have in Azure SQL or SQL Server, all of those components are really here. I mean, now there's a couple of like kind of niche things that you might like. You might have a DBA point out, oh, it doesn't do this little thing or that thing. There is a competing way to handle it. Often it's like, well, you just use a service principal instead of a SQL ID or something along those lines. And the reality is those have been added in because we need to be in a cloud first or security first cloud mindset. So some of those things have been disabled on purpose because we're looking for uh, that type of security once we're in the cloud. Okay, but you've got all sorts of SQL level permissions you can put in. You've got workspace isolation you can do, and when you're putting in your consumption layer in Power BI, you can still do your row level security that gets implemented inside of this. All right, so it's all integrated. It's all baked in. You're ready to go. Okay. Yes. So, hey, we've got cost, we've got speed, we've got our controller on this. I know what you're saying. Hey, Chris, this looks like this should be a Kratos BI approved solution, right? I say, hang on a second. This is not approved yet. You know why it's not approved yet? Because we haven't done it ourselves. We haven't gone in and played with it and done all of these things ourselves. So we can't approve it till we actually test it, right? So if we haven't tested it, it's not approved, okay? So remember, this is the best day ever because we're going to go in and we're going to show you how to actually do that stuff here. So we're going to be done with talking. We're going to jump into the demos. I'm going to show you how to create a database. I'm going to show you how to load and query a relational database. We're going to work on it in the semantic model. We're going to show you how it's integrated in Power BI Desktop. I'm even going to show you Excel integration as well as governance and security. Actually, I'm not going to show you Excel integration because I just realized if I fire up Excel, it's going to open up something you cannot see. So my bad. You don't get that demo. Sorry. All right. Before we jump in, does anyone have any questions? I haven't seen anyone in chat with questions. I want to give a shot for people to ask questions before you go to demos. Go once. Going twice. All right, let's get to it. All right, so this is going to be the demo time. Let's pull it up. All right, so here is my SQL Server environment. I'm going to show you. We've got everything. Now, I've played this game with live demos in the past of going in and creating everything and trusting it. I've got this live environment up, so if we have failures along the way, I can always pivot over to it. But because I like to have nothing up my sleeve, I'm going to I'm going to show you from the beginning on this how we can actually create this stuff ourselves. So we are going to duplicate the tab. And if you're looking to get started at this from the beginning by yourself, I would recommend heading over to the Microsoft Learn portal. There is a whole bunch of stuff out there. Let's see here. Did not have it in the Fabric side. Power BI has a Learn side. Learn. In Learn, we can head over to Microsoft Learn. Now, this is the Power BI stuff, but I can actually go to training. There's Fabric. And inside Microsoft Fabric, there is a whole bunch of stuff where you can actually start learning inside of here. All you equal. And boom, here's a whole bunch of modules to get you up and learning in Fabric SQL, okay? But we're not doing Fabric SQL. We are doing a hands-on, never done before, raw, brand new implementation of data platform Downunder. Yes, we are doing this live. We've got a brand new workspace that we're going to create, and we're going to do this, okay? So what are we going to do when it comes to this? We are going to actually create a task flow. We're going to be doing a basic data analytics. So we're going to get our data, we're going to store our data, we're going to visualize our data. So we're going to be filling this guy out. I'm not going to track my data. Screw that. So although I am going to add a task, I'm going to add in a general, and we're going to call this semantic. Where's my rename? Edit. Semantic. All right, and we're going to change you to go to you, and you to go to you. Okay, so this is what we're going to be creating out there. Now, I know what you're saying to yourself. You're saying, oh, okay, Chris, you're going to create from the left to the right, right? Like, this is how we're going to do this. No, we're not going to do this. We have to do this in a different order. We're going to start in the middle because this is not the right one. We're going to start in the middle because it takes a minute to stand up the SQL database. So SQL databases is one of my favorite things. So there's one that's right here. If I favored it because I use it all the time. But if we want, we could just do SQL, and I've got a SQL database right here. So I'm going to create that one. I'm going to call this one Downunder. Create. And that's going to create my SQL database. You're going to see this is live. This is in real time. This is how long it takes to stand this stuff up, right? So you can see it's not instantaneous, but it does happen in real time. Hey, Martin, welcome back.
Sorry about that. Didn't know my camera was on.
All good, man. All right. So where did my... All right, we're going to pin this back over so I can easily get over to this. Okay, so I wanted to point out two things for you guys here. Okay, first off, boom, here's the SQL database that we said we're going to create. So we've created that. We're up and running. Good to go. Already done with that point. Number two, oops, why did you do that? Number two, we have a SQL endpoint that was created automatically available for this Downunder. Did I spell that right? Downunder. under. Yeah, I did. Okay. Automatically created. What this is going to allow me to do is my apps are going to run off of my SQL database. My reports and my semantic model are going to run off my SQL connection. That creates that hard separation between the two so that we don't ever have any of the things that like my apps can be completely free and clear to connect to the database. My analytics can connect to my database down there. Okay. All right. So my database is up. It's been provisioned now. Now I'm simply going to create a brand new copy job. We're just going to copy job customer. Yeah, we're going to be collecting data. So I'm going to hit create. And this is just going to be a simple thing to copy some data into the ecosystem. I'm going to grab my customer table and I'm going to load that into my into here. Right. So let's go ahead and grab this. All right, we're going to go to the one-leg catalog because we love the one-leg catalog. All right, we're going to connect to the SQL database that we just tested out. Now, you would not normally connect one demo environment to another. You'd connect to whatever your source system was in order to get that. I'm just doing this to keep the demo gods hopefully happy because this should be up and available for me. Boom, doom, 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 doom. This is where the demos should. Come on. You worked earlier today. Okay, let's try that again. Oh, you're killing me. Just really hoping that we wouldn't end this closely. All right, so hang on. Let's go back. Let's see if we could try the adventure works. Somebody has to be up. Killing me softly with his words, tearing my whole life. Okay. And this is why we have a prepped and ready environment to just go ahead and get started with. Okay. So this is where we build out a copy job where we can actually see how this is configured. So we copy this from our warehouse. It's going to move that information into that SQL database that we had created. And we can even go in and edit the mappings. We can edit columns. We can change data types. We can shift all of that stuff. All of this stuff is available inside the copy job. Yes, cancel. And I'm not going to run this because I believe I need to do a truncate and load. So I'm not going to run this, but you can run this. You can look at your run history and there's nothing recent here because, of course, that was more than 30 days ago. So, okay, so ignore that for now. That's interesting. All right, we'll go back here. All right, so this is the copy job. It's going to copy data into the SQL server right over here. And we've got our DIM customer table that is available inside the SQL server. You can see it's available here. I've got my data here. Now, maybe my copy job will work just fine. Killing me, copy job. There we go. Okay. See, I knew it would work. All right. A copy job is very easy. I just select the table. I go next. I choose where this is going to go. Well, I'm going into my Downunder database, right? Well, I'm going to be copying. This is a full copy. I'm going to copy everything all at once. I could switch over to incremental, but there's no date field on top of this for an incremental column. Is there or a date time on this? I thought they were changing that, but oh well. Yeah, no, there's no date time on this, so I don't think you can do that. Yeah, no. Incremental would not work on this one. This is a full load. It's a dimension table, so no problem. Okay. Yes, the DBO is going into DIM customer on DIM customer. So go yes, next, save and run. this is going to gather my information up. Make sure that that is full on accessible, right? And we are now going to, is it running? See, did I do something wrong here? No, yep, that's good. Okay, why are you run history? Did it run? No, it didn't run. 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 Okay, where did you go? Where did you go now? Okay, there it is. So let's see here. I don't want to add a schedule. I could add a schedule. What happened to the run button? Did they move it? What am I missing here, boys? Oh, there's run. Crazy me. Oh, is it queued up? Oh, there it is. It's queued for run. Okay, so it's going to run here. Oh, good days. Okay, so it's going to be running. We're going to see this get loaded in just a second. You're going to see this pop up. I will say this is normally not this slow. This is interesting. Well, okay, well, we'll go back to our other demo. So when that gets done, the table gets loaded inside of SQL Server, okay? So fantastic. We created a database. We loaded the database. Now this is great, but I want to write a query against it. Well, I can run, I can write it. I could just go create a new query. I can say select star from dbo.dim customer. I can run this, right? I can write a query that way. I can say, hey, show me the top 100 records. I can run that. I've got all sorts of options I can do. I can script is create an API for GraphQL, or I can write like a custom thing, all right? Like, you know what? One of the things I hate about this customer dimension table is that like it's got first name, middle name, last name separated out. I hate that. Who wants that? Nobody wants that, right? So I'm just going to use some like classic old school SQL, and I'm going to write in, I'm going to come up with, customer name, right? So I'm going to do that, and boom, classic SQL. Now my customer name is right here, and I've got that first name, middle name, or middle initial and last name all concatenated together, so it's nice and easy for me to do. I've got full and complete control over this SQL, so I can do anything I want with this. So if you have 1,000 or 10,000 stored procedures out there, you can go ahead and you can actually create one out there. Here's an example of one. Oh, why are you not doing it? But you can bring over and port over your stored procedures. You can port over all of your queries that you use against your databases. It's really easy because it's just Transact SQL. So everyone here understands and knows Transact SQL, right? Now, the thing I really, really like about Fabric SQL and Fabric in general is these queries have this shared query area. So if that dim customer table is something I always want people to like use across my team, all I do is move that query into my shared queries, and now everyone on my team has this. This is fantastic for queries used for troubleshooting, common analytics, for doing data validation. I am a huge fan of this. Uh, uh, in fact, there's one I just absolutely love. I was showing someone today, although now I don't remember if it's except or subtract. Let's do a cope. Well, no, we won't do this. Is it minus? Does minus work in Fabric SQL? Or is it accept? Anyone know? I think it's minus. Well, that didn't work. Oh, I know. If I run this, what do you mean? Oh, oops. If I run this, I'm going to get no records back. Because what's going to happen, and oh, actually, this is probably a bad thing to do because it might have bombed my system, but it's not that big. What the minus query does is it will take all of the results on the top and subtract out all of the results on the bottom. It's a great validate. This cannot be right. Does minus not work in T-SQL? Is it except? There we go, except. There we go. Okay. So what except does, there we are. That's what I thought, is it looks at everything that's in the top, subtracts out anything that's in the bottom. It's a great for validating in details to like look for where you could find them. But it's everything that you've always done in SQL. It's all right there, right? So you're really easily able to go in and build this out, and you're in a good place with this value. So let's see here if my copy job is finished. So my copy job is done here. So we're going back into my Downunder database. We're loading my DBO, and where's the table? I've got my dim customer right there. Hey, that's great, man. How awesome. Now I can go over to my SQL Analytics endpoint too. Just see how I did that? I just went from SQL Database to SQL Analytics endpoint. What's the difference? Well, SQL Analytics endpoint is running against those back-end Delta files, and it's not running against your transactional SQL database. So there's a separation of powers there. That is super, super important because you don't want to have, competing resources. So now I can have my analysts that I can give access to this SQL endpoint. They can run their queries, they can do their things against it, and I don't have to worry about them going in and uh, creating something like really strange, right? Like, or creating a query that would take down my production system. So I'm all good to go here. Okay. All right. So I've shown you how all sorts of different ways about querying. I've showed you how you can query in SQL. I also showed you the same thing exists when it comes to querying inside of the SQL endpoint. Exact same like functionality, right? We could do the exact same things in here with queries and shared queries, all that good stuff. But I've got a great thing that I can do right here, and that's I can create a new semantic model, right? Boom, just like this, Downunder, SM, semantic model. Yes, it's in the workspace. Yes, I'm going to choose the dim customer. I'm going to say, and I could, if I had a lot of tables, I could search or filter it down, but I'm going to say, go ahead, confirm. That's what I need to have here. And boom, goes the dynamite. While that's running, I'll go fire Power BI desktop. And yes, Chris is running on a brand new desktop that I got back from the shop today. And I've been busy installing stuff for you. Get that installed. That up. Okay, I'm installed. I'll go to a blank report. We're going to do this in just a second. But boom, here's my semantic model, right? So now I've got my semantic model here. I've got all of the things that I could do when it comes to any semantic model. I can do joins. I can create new measures. I could do something as simple as new measure equals customer count. Distinct count. Dim customer key. Boom. And I've got my customer count. Now, it doesn't really make sense to do it on a dimension table. I mean, you can do it on a dimension table. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but I've got a fully functioning semantic model that I can do everything I would normally do here. If I had tabular editor installed on my PC, and I'm now realizing I don't have that installed on this PC, I could even go into tabular editor, open and edit this model from within that semantic model or from within tabular editor. For the purpose of this demo, I don't need to go to that extent to show you all of those things, but trust me when I say we've got all of these components in place. I can easily go in and edit the tables that are in my semantic model, right? I've got access to I can, creating a new report or doing explore the data or create a lineage on top of it. Really, actually, that's interesting. That's a new button for me. I can do manage roles and I can add in row level security on this model. I can do all of the things I would normally do here. I could even, if I wanted to, click on create a new report and I could go in here and I could create a new report for this model. So I could say, hey, there's that dim customer count that I was talking about. Like, oh, look at that. Here it is. It's right there. And I go over to card. I've got that in place. I've got my reports. I've got my customer account. Move that over. I've got that there. And we're going to go to a matrix. And we're going to say English education. And boom, I've got my report right there. Isn't this amazing how easy this is, all integrated in one place? Well, I hear what you're telling me. You're saying, but Chris, I do not do my report development in the web because I like to do everything in Power BI desktop because this is where I like to be. Not a problem. I can do that right inside here. That's when I go to my OneLake catalog. Wow. Oh, thank you. Wait. All right. So now I see my Downunder semantic model right there. I go ahead, click connect. And I'm going to see the exact same things I saw online, right? I've got my customer account. I've got that right there. Oh my gosh, where did my KPI card go? Oh, there it is, my KPI card. So I've got that in place. And I can go over to my matrix and I can go to English education and boom, just like that. I've created the exact same report that I had in the web. I've created that in Power BI desktop, all integrated, all in one place. Now, the great thing about all of this is we have integrated security into this stuff so that sharing with our information, I showed you inside our semantic model. Oh, down under. Save that. All right. Right inside my semantic model, I can put in my row level security. That's there. I can also inside of here. Why are you? What happened? There we go. Pin you. I can also go into my database. I can apply I could apply security roles inside of here. But also inside of my model, I can go into manage access and I can add people in. I've got access to admin members, contributors, all of that stuff is available. If I've properly labeled everything, and in fact, we're gonna add something into my report there, and we're gonna pin my semantic model here. Boom. I've now successfully created all the items I've got. I've identified them. And now one of the things I do want to do is I want to mark this as one of my absolute favorite reports in the whole wide world because me and you created it together. So I'm super excited about it. So I'm going to mark it as a favorite. I'm also inside of this report. Where'd you go? Okay. Inside this report, we're going to, I can manage permissions. What happened? A few details. This isn't it. That's not what I wanted. I wanted endorsement. Where did my endorsement go? Settings. Under my endorsements, I'm going to say this is a promoted report because I want people to go and use this report. It's not yet certified. I don't have everything certified in this environment, but it's promoted to go out and check it out. So I'm going to call this a promoted report. So it's now governed, it's secured, and it's ready for people to do things with. Okay. If I go back to my demo, we did the provisioning. We did the creation of new queries in relational databases, so we don't have to sit and watch that. We did the native Power BI integration. We showed you all of that. We did Power BI desktop integration. And there is a native Excel integration. I'm going to show it to you quickly, but I can't show you more than that because, well, I'll have issues with, you just can't look at that. Sorry. So if I go to my shared queries, I know. To my SQLcon database, SQLcon, queries, share queries, customer, right here. I run this. Oh no, it doesn't do it in here. Downunder, I have to do it over here. Yes. So my query, any query, you can open it inside of Excel. I mean, unable to open Excel. You have to have the whole query selected. You can click on the Excel icon right there. It's going to open this it's going to create and download a new file for you. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to pull it right up so I can open this and to make sure I don't share something that you shouldn't see. Sorry, wait. Yay. I didn't divulge all of my financial information to you. Okay, it opened up Excel. You enable editing. You launch analyze data, enable content, and it's actually executing the query in the back end. It's pulling that up. You say, yes, run that query. We're going to say you're going to sign in with your Microsoft account in order to do this. Dun, 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 dun. Connect. And there we go. And now we've integrated this with Excel. So I now have a workbook with a direct connection into my Fabric SQL database or my SQL warehouse. So I can actually have people that if they need access to detailed information, they can use this as a takeaway item without having to do anything more complex than what we would normally do. It's all available. It's all available for them inside of Excel, and they're all ready to go. Okay. So it's integrated natively in Excel. So even your CFO who refuses to get off of that will be happy with this, right? And we did that too. So we're good day. And that's how and why we're having the best day ever. That's right. Best day ever. This is a good one. Thank you. So now we've seen cost. We've seen the speed of the platform. We've seen the control that we have around this. Now we can officially say, yes, this is an approved solution. Awesome. As I said, my name is Chris Wagner, Director of AI and Data at Baker Tilly, founder of Chris BI. Follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, X, TikTok, all that good stuff. You can find me everywhere. I'm so grateful that you guys took time out of your day to come and listen to me talk. Thank you so very much. Do you guys have any questions? I do have. I also have. I have like 30 or 40 videos out on using these different things out there. So do check that out. There's a ton of resources out there. So please let us know or let me know if you have any questions. None of that stuff is important for you though, so we could stop sharing. Do you guys have any questions about Fabric SQL?
That's a great session, Chris. While we are back on screen, yes, if anybody does have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. Looking at the chat, I do see that. So Ruben, you asked how to learn Fabric SQL for someone starting his journey in analytics. So I guess the first part there, like Chris mentioned, Fabric SQL, SQL Server, is exactly the same. It's just the location of where that database is located. Okay, so that a Fabric SQL database, it is fantastic. So I just want to, so I didn't even think about this, but I was wearing it. So look at that. There you go. So I have the Fabric SQL database shirt on, but Fabric SQL database literally is the same SKU of SQL Server that is running in Azure. It's just placed into the Fabric environment. Okay, so T-SQL side of things, exactly the same. Okay, the main differences are because it's truly a software as a service. There is there's basically no knobs or dials that you have the ability to turn. Okay, so like Chris showed in the demo, he literally gave it a name and it went off and it created this database for him. It is very simple. Matt, thanks. Looks powerful. Okay. Yep. No problems. Advantage of Fabric SQL DB over Lakehouse. Ooh, that's an interesting question, Chris.
So different capabilities for different things, right? Fabrics. This is a SQL database, right? So databases and lakehouses, while they kind of serve many common functions, I would not build an I would build an application on a Fabric database without batting an eye. For transactional processing, like a metadata-driven framework is great on a Fabric database. It's fantastic because it handles any and all transactions that you have going in and out of it. It works great. A lakehouse, on the other hand, is all about storage and concurrent usage and performance at scale, with large amounts of data, not individual tiny threads or like individual transactions. So it's all about scale and use case. Okay, so that's where I really differentiate the two. Or do you have a way you explain it to people?
Look, I guess the other side of it is depending on what your skill set is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're coming from a SQL Server side of things, then Fabric SQL database is a fantastic side of things, but also from what type of data you're going to be storing. So a lake house, you could store anything you want. Not quite the same in a Fabric SQL database.
Yeah, and there are differences between a SQL database and a lakehouse, right? Like lakehouses don't have enforced keys, right? You can define a key, but it's not enforced. So you can actually have duplicate keys. So you have to build in processes and practices that track and manage your keys so that you don't like have those duplicates that cause you problems. On a database, you cannot duplicate a key. That transaction will fail to write. It won't happen, right? So there's some foundational differences there between those two ecosystems. If you find you're coming from an on-prem SQL server that you were using like a data warehouse, Fabric SQL is great for that. You don't necessarily have to rewrite everything so that you can work and operate inside a lakehouse, which is kind of what you end up having to do. You have to kind of like move everything out of SQL into Python, and to your point, Warwick, on which one you choose, right?
So, Ashok, your question around which version of SQL in Fabric environment. So Fabric SQL database, just like an Azure SQL database, it's the evergreen version. It's not like the box product. So if you were to select ADAT version in a Fabric SQL database, it will give you a version number, and it's always going to be the latest because it's patched by Microsoft. Just be careful because that version number, if you go out and say, oh, what is this? Okay, it can come back and say, oh, this is a SQL Server. I think it relates to like SQL Server 2012, blah, blah, blah. Okay,
Mhm.
but because of the version numbers. So does that answer your question, Ashok, or are you more like additions with, you know, what features are available while we wait? Hey, Chris, thanks for showcasing this. It's amazing. From my experience, it felt like everything related to Fabric was quite expensive. So my team never really had the chance to explore all of its features. Do you have any thoughts on Fabric's pricing and compute? Have you found Fabric to be cost effective and performant in practice?
For a cloud data computing platform, I honestly, I don't know of one that's more cost effective than Fabric. That's where that ROI comes in from. That's where that utilization rate comes in from. Now, if you're optimized for cloud computing, Fabric is great. If you're optimized for on-prem processing, where you bought a box 5 years ago and that box has 10 processors in it, and that you don't pay anything extra to have that box running processes 24/7. You may, in those situations, like have built out processes that were optimized for that type of processor rich environment. You're going to struggle with Fabric. You'll struggle with Snowflake. You'll struggle with Databricks. You'll struggle with any online platform that is whose pricing is based upon consumption. If you just directly port those things over, so to that end, I actually think Fabric is incredibly inexpensive. I mean, I personally run an F2, and I've got I shudder to think of how many assets I have. In fact, you know what? We're going to play a game. We're going to play a game of how much stuff does Chris have in his demo environment? And let's go take a look. So if I'm in my environment, I'm going to go over to Govern under my OneLake data catalog. And let's look at how much Chris is running in an F2. Oh, crap. This is going to take a minute to load up, isn't it? Come on. Why you got to be like that? Well, needless to say, I have lots of things out there. Oh, yeah. So here we go. Technically, I guess I have 8 capacities. But I look at this. I've got 193 semantic models, 166 reports. How do I have more semantic models than reports? That's a problem. I've got 150 Synapse notebooks. I've got 120 other things, right? Like, I mean, I've got 933 items out inside of my Fabric capacities, and now most of these are off capacities, aren't doing anything, but Eagle is my capacity that I'm using everything on. So I mean, you could see Eagle has got most everything in. But yeah, you could do so much stuff with Fabric, and I'll be honest, like an F2 is $280. If you pause it every night at 5 p.m. Oh, that's why I had a problem. My capacities pause every night at 5 p.m. So I have to turn them back on. I forgot that. But if you pause your capacities every night at 5 p.m. and only fire them back up when you're processing things, you can really cut a lot of your consumption way down. In fact, Kevin from our live stream, he had a customer who he fired up the Fabric capacity at 11:30 every night. At midnight, all their nightly loads process from midnight till like 1:30, I think it was. He loaded his semantic models through incremental loading into a PPU models because they were like 60 gigs in size. And then at like 2 in the morning, he shut off his Fabric capacities. An F2 capacity that he ran for 2 hours a day cost him like $20 a month. And I mean, he was running a large enterprise on that. So it's really dependent upon how you build out and your patterns for your build and solution as to whether or not Fabric is quote unquote expensive or not, right?
So Ashok, you've come back with more of addition. So I guess that given Fabric SQL database, you don't get to choose like you saw when Chris created it. You literally say, I want to create a Fabric SQL database, give it a name, and because the workspace that you're creating it in is associated to a capacity. But the size of that database, right? Because Fabric SQL database is the same as Azure SQL database. And so Azure SQL database has that top end limit, right? Up to 4 terabytes. If you want to go larger, then this is where Fabric SQL database does not really come into play for you. So unlike when you're creating a Azure SQL database, you get to choose between general purpose and business critical. If you think about general purpose and business critical equates to enterprise edition, all of the bells and whistles and features, etc., where general purpose is more standard edition, but you don't get to choose that on what is actually deployed for you. So there are some slight limitations with features, etc., but you would be best to have a look at the limitations page for Fabric SQL database because, as things change, because we all know things change very, very frequently. Okay, so the best place there would be, if it's not fit for what you're doing, to have a look, see what its limitations are, and go from there. Do we have any other questions for Chris before we wrap up? Yes, that's very true, Ashok. Depending on what you're doing, you always need to choose the right destination. Well, if we don't have any other questions, then big thank you to Chris for giving up his time and delivering this fantastic session to our user group. Big thank you to Martin for being here and being my co-host once again this month. Big thank you to all of you for coming along and being part of this month's session. As we mentioned at the start, the session has been recorded, and once we've processed it, we will place it up onto the Data Platform Downunder YouTube channel, where you can come back, rewatch this session, as well as any other sessions that we have hosted in the past. With that, thank you very much, Have a fantastic day.
Thanks, everybody. Have the best day ever.